Tom, today, normally for these opens, we try to do some sort of a news, some sort of a learning, some sort of a way to better your life with your anxiety.
Yeah.
Right?
Correct.
Yeah. Sometimes we do that. Today, I'm not going to do that at all.
Oh.
Not even a little bit. And I'll tell you why. Because today, I want to celebrate the weird stuff that we collectively do because of our anxieties.
Okay, sure.
I read an article, this is on The Mighty, as was compiled by Juliet Vierzy, and at themighty.com, and I'll even put the link in the show notes, where she asked a bunch of followers of The Mighty to talk about the weird things that they do when they are anxious. And I don't do all of them. I have been known to do some of them, and I just want to share them because I think that they make me feel less alone. And
sure.
That's what we're all about.
That's all we are.
Yeah. Also, I read this other article about how somebody was saying that you don't ever, ever, ever laugh at somebody else's anxiety or phobia. And then went and cataloged all the reasons not to laugh at somebody else's anxiety or phobia. And one of them included that, even if you have that anxiety yourself, you make them feel alone. I totally disagree with that. And that's the purpose of our show. We're here to laugh at ourselves and laugh at us together and try to be less isolated. And that's why I want to share these things, not to point a finger and make people feel bad, but just to remember that we all have a thing in our brains, and my thing isn't your thing, and that's why we're here, is to learn about our things.
Yeah, I think another way to say it is we're not laughing at, we're laughing with, and that makes a huge difference.
Right.
Yes.
And so here we go. Now there are 25 of these. I don't think I'll read them all, but I definitely want to hear if you happen to have any of these.
And so again, these are weird things you do because of your anxiety.
Because of your anxiety. Number one, I pick my cuticles all the time. That's my go-to. If my anxiety is worse, I'll pinch the skin at the very top of my thighs. It's discreet, and it's just enough pain to pull me out of my head without being damaging. I can usually get it under control with that. Do you pick your cuticles? Do you pinch yourself, Tom?
I don't. I do bite my fingernails, and I'm not sure if that's a anxiety response, but it probably is. Pretty much everything I do is probably your anxiety response. So so that's my finger part is I don't mess with the cuticles, but my nails are like non-existent. They're ridiculous.
I do have a skin one that is related to my heels. When by about the middle of the summer, usually I wear sandals, like my sandals through most of the summer. And my heels get really dry and they turn into like little scales. And when I'm anxious, if I'm in an anxiety inducing situation, I'll cross my legs under the table and I will literally pick the skin off of my heels until it hurts. Yeah. Yeah.
That's gross.
So,
and
that's number one.
Upsetting. Okay. That's all number one?
Yeah. This is all number one, picking cuticles, and that's got us here. Now, about number two, I yawn constantly. It's annoying as hell, but I can't help it. And it gets worse the more anxious I get. It's like I can't get enough air, so I have to make myself yawn.
That is so interesting. I never thought that would be something that would be shared, but that is something that it's like a wave of exhaustion sometimes.
Yes. You know what it turns out? That this contributor says that I just recently found out it's a type of hyperventilating related to anxiety. When you get nervous, it's a type of hyperventilate. Fascinating. I love that.
A socially appropriate hyperventilation. Wow.
Sometimes anxiety turns to anger. I get very angry. People don't understand why I'm angry. Even I don't understand why I'm angry in the moment, but it usually comes from a rapid onset of anxiety-inducing elements. Here's somebody who shakes a lot. I start with tapping my foot and then vigorously shaking my leg and tapping my hands. It's so hard to hide, so everyone automatically looks at me and makes me feel like I'm a freak. You're not a freak. You're anxious. That's okay.
When I'm really concentrating or if I'm nervous, during the filming of my feature, it became very clear to me that I rock back and forth a little bit. Like I'm standing up, but I'm just sort of lightly rocking back and forth. And when you're looking over two actors, like, practicing a scene or something, I couldn't look like more of a creep. I'm just like, yes, pull the strings. Yeah. So I do that. Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
How about this one? This one I know is going to delight you and illuminate this conversation. This contributor writes, I pop zits on myself for my boyfriend of 3 years. He hates it, but when I'm really bad, he'll take his shirt off and lay on his stomach so I can pop the ones on his back. I also crochet if he's too sore from work to let me go at it. This delights me for so many reasons, not the least of which is that these people, as a couple, have come to a sort of accommodation.
What incredible symbiosis
around her anxiety.
Yes.
Exactly. This is the remora and the shark. It is fantastic.
I love it.
I know. Yeah.
I mean, whatever works for you, but bring a towel.
This one made me think of you. Quote, I dance like a robot backing up and walking away while making robot sounds when I'm around a group of people and feel overstimulated and become paranoid. Yep.
That's amazing. I want to do that now.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can, and let me say, I don't think any of these contributors would object to adopting this if it supplants something that you'd like not to do.
Sure.
Right? If maybe you generally get overstimulated in crowds and just vomit, maybe dancing like a robot is an improvement. Feel free to take this and run. There you go. Celebrate your weirdness, people. Your anxiety. It may feel weird, but you are not alone. Welcome to What's That Smell, a sometimes funny podcast about humans and their anxieties. I'm Pete Wright.
And I'm Tommy Metz III.
And every week, we each drag one of our deepest, darkest anxieties into the light to share it, learn about it,
and hopefully laugh about it with all of you. Reach out to us. Send us the story of your anxieties to, something stinky at whatsthatsmell.net. Still, that's the email address. Something stinky at whatsthatsmell.net. And we would love to hear from you, and you can be a part of the show. And with that, Pete, I would love to start us off.
I traveled worlds to see wildlife.
Pete.
Hi, Tom.
Hi. For my offering this week, I would like to start with a question. And it's such a common question. I'm sure you're super tired of answering it. Have you ever seen an X-ray of a child's mouth?
No. All right. I'm not crazy about X-rays in general, but yes,
sure, because it's kind of wizardry and magic stuff, and I don't care for it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how I thought mouths and humans and teeth and things apparently worked, but this was a new one for me. I recently saw an X-ray of a child's mouth. Let's not ask how. And it's horrifying. If you haven't seen it, guys, they look like shark mouths because their baby teeth are there, but then their adult teeth are just hiding behind it, like Alien in the movie Alien, just waiting to sort of come out. I don't know what I thought. The teeth just sort of like grew later. Like, I never stopped to think about it. And I graduated cum laude from like a real school. Like, it had doors and everything. It was a real school. But seeing this was just like horrifying to me. And anyways, why I bring this up will make more sense in a little bit. Today, I am offering a listener submission. Hooray!
Hooray!
And this listener submission, her name is Megan, and she actually offered up 2 phobias, but both are so interesting and so different, I want to split them up. So we're just going to be doing the first one today. And this is exciting because she actually submitted her anxiety as an audio recording. And so if you don't mind, Pete, listen to this. Take it away, Megan.
Hey guys, my name is Megan. I live in Los Angeles, California. Love your show and wanted to send you 2 of my phobias that are kind of Los Angeles related, but I'd like to think that they're universal at their core. One of them has to do with these hidden staircases all over Los Angeles. They're really cool. And a lot of image conscious actors and actresses go there to exercise and run up and down the stairs. And I used to be one of those until I I developed this horrifying image of myself as I'm running up the stairs, tripping and bashing my teeth into the stair above me. And I could just, the crunch and the sensation just was debilitating to the point where I couldn't get the image out of my head every time I would run up the stairs, and I had to stop. So I no longer do those stairs. I now do downhill ski races, but no, I don't do that. So that's one of my phobias, and I shudder just thinking about that. But I really have this fear of bashing my teeth in, and the stairs trigger that for me. And I'm wondering if anybody out there shares that fear.
Oh God, Tom. Yeah, I relate to that. That's one of those that I didn't even know that I related to until I heard her say it. And then all the images of any time somebody's teeth meet concrete, like this or American History X, or like, oh God, it's all of those things.
Yes.
Teeth are the worst.
Teeth are the worst thing to get injured. Yes. I can break this down into two basic phobias. The first one is basophobia or basophobia, which is a natural fear of falling. And then the second one is odontophobia, which is the fear of teeth or dental surgery. Now, I hope it's okay that the fear of falling seems so universal to everyone that I really went with the teeth being hurt, that's the bigger issue, and why, you just responded, why that's so different than other kind of injuries. So I followed that thread. And about teeth, the second caveat that I want to say is almost all of the research that I found, and there is a lot involving teeth or losing teeth, is based in fear of dental work.
Yeah.
Actual dental work. And that's certainly not what's going on for Megan. So I tried to look outside of the normal arena in order to get some insight. Can I take you on a delightful journey that might lead nowhere?
I love journeys to nowhere.
In an effort to try to see how old some of these basic fears about teeth and losing teeth involved, went back to, I actually checked the Bible. You've read the Bible, right, Pete?
Cover to cover.
Yeah. I actually have read it from cover to cover because I'm one of those guys. But I didn't remember these. I had to look it up on some sort of app kind of thing. But the Bible mentions teeth in Psalm 58:6, when King David is praying to God to destroy his enemies. And how he does it is he pleads to the heavens to, quote, break their teeth in their mouth, O God. Lord, tear out the fangs of those lions. One of the things that I think that brings up is that, especially in older times, starting when we were cave people, teeth are needed to chew food. Teeth are needed for protection, and they represent power. So to break, in this biblical quote, to break someone's teeth would be to reduce their power while also reducing their basic ability to survive. Teeth are also mentioned, of course, as I mentioned in an earlier episode involving hell and eternity. In Matthew 13:42, he describes hell as a fiery furnace where there will be weeping and what?
Gnashing of teeth, Tom.
Gnashing of teeth, exactly.
And I think the Bible doubles down on gnashing of teeth. I think that gnashing, in fact, comes up a lot. That's a go-to phrase for the Bible. We're going to gnash teeth a lot.
And that's an interesting, for that to be the repeated phrase, there's something very old about that. The teeth, what they represent, the strength that they represent, and the absence of them, how that can sort of destroy your life. Then I threw the Bible across the floor, and then I went into, of course, where you may have heard about this kind of stuff, but dream theory. Dream theory is all about losing teeth. And I went to a ton of different websites, and actually a book that I had that I didn't remember I had about dreams. And they're kind of all over the place in times, but I can break it down to the basics, if you'll let me. The main meanings for dreams about teeth breaking or broken teeth they can involve instability and lack of balance in your life, issues with reliability and trust, of course, fear of aging. And this is the really big one, the most common one, and it's written in a ton of different ways, but I was able to sort of distill that this is what they're going for, is it very often happens in times of transition. That is a very common theme for a lot of these things that potentially your mind is trying to work out. So maybe if it's you have a new romantic partner, or you're moving or changing jobs, any of those things, it could be a subconscious reminder, says Dream Theory, that you either made a decision or are about to make one that could feel like a heavy compromise and could generate emotional suffering if not dealt with consciously. Meaning, it's saying, look at what you're doing and really bring it up to the surface and make sure you understand what you're going into, because some of them say that teeth breaking could be that you're breaking yourself and your sense of balance in order to satisfy others or goals that do not serve you well in the end. It could be a fear of you're losing sight of yourself and your true needs by going after the ideals of someone else. Or it could just mean a fresh start. There are also a couple that are like, it's also just sometimes new. Again, that gets into the strength that I think teeth represent and that primal sort of aspect of it.
Yeah.
That's what Dream Theory have you ever had dreams about this?
Totally. And you know what's so interesting about that is that teeth serve such a dual nature for us, right? You've already talked about that. You need them for subsistence. You need them to survive. You've got to be able to chew or have some sort of way to chew your food to live healthily. And an image or a sort of absence of teeth is a sign of that you're not healthy. That breaking your teeth somehow is a sign that you feel like your health is at stake. There is this other angle, though, that I think more about personally, which is the as you say, primal nature that teeth are protection, right? If you look at sort of that sort of feral nature, that you use your teeth to protect yourself, to hunt, to catch prey, and so a lack of teeth is a sign of defenselessness. Like you can't protect yourself. But for me, there's a third level, which is the practical when I'm not sleeping. That teeth are a one-time shot, right? Like you get it once.
No, because you hit on exactly what I think, because one of the things as I was researching this was, why not bones?
Yeah.
That we feel this way about teeth, and no one wants to break an arm or a leg, but it doesn't have that exact same kind of visceral punch. So I did some research about teeth and bones, and I think potentially I thought teeth were bones, because cum laude, they are not. Both teeth and bones are comprised of calcium, phosphorus, and other minerals. But the big difference is that bones mostly consist of the protein collagen. And collagen is a living, growing tissue that gives bones their flexible framework. On the other side, teeth is mostly consist of a calcified tissue called dentine. Dentine. And that dentine tissue.
Now I know where they came up with that.
Exactly. And now that dentine tissue is covered in enamel. That is the hard, shiny layer that you brush. And so here's the big difference that I think you were getting to. Tooth enamel, unlike bones, does not have the same regenerative powers. Teeth cannot heal themselves or grow back together if they are broken. When a bone fractures, new bone cells rush in to fill the gap and repair the break, but a cracked or broken tooth can require all sorts of horribleness, and really, you're not getting that tooth back. Also, bone marrow produces red and white blood cells. Teeth don't have that. They get it's just built completely differently, and I think that there's something, to overuse the word, incredibly primal about that. Breaking your teeth versus bones in your body, it's because they are irreplaceable. They're irreparable. All of our teeth are with us from jump. Bones can mend, teeth can't. And ever since we were cave people, as I said, teeth have symbolized, and you've gotten to, protection, survival, adaptation, growth. And so the idea of, and this does go into making an entire life transition. You are robbing yourself of the foundation that you've gotten comfortable with. And that can be very scary. So I think those all sort of coincide very nicely.
How are you with teeth, with your dental career?
I am fine because, thank goodness for my parents. My mother has had legendarily terrible teeth. Not terrible looking, but just needed a lot of work because dental hygiene was not something that was very important back then for her parents. And so she's had to do a ton of work. As a result, they gave me some early braces, stuff like that. And I haven't had a cavity in a zillion years. So I'm all good.
As weird as that childhood X-ray bit is that you opened with, after hearing you talk about this, it makes me really think that some sort of genetic modification that would give us the ability to regrow teeth and just have them fan in when you lose another one, that's pretty smart.
It is. I'm sure evolution's getting around to it.
I would take that superpower.
Yes.
Shark teeth.
Shark teeth. And on that, I think the one thing keeping evolution from having us have shark teeth is the enemy of all teeth. It's smoothies, Pete. Smoothies for the win. So, Megan, thank you so much for submitting. We really, really appreciate it. We will be covering your second phobia a little bit later in the season. But for now, crack away because smoothies have got your back.
But no one looks around. Questions his tradition or fear that it's all false.
Tom, my parents have a painting.
Oh.
In this painting, it's an oil painting. It's an original.
Okay.
And in this painting, a man has a sad look on his face, and he is reading a newspaper, the Wall Street Journal in this case.
Oh, this sounds like a Rockwell.
We can clearly see on the front page of the newspaper. I mean, we can't actually see the text, right? But we can see the headlines, and we can see the some of the bylines, tax report and what's news and some advertisement on the back page, right? We can see some things. And the hero image on the front of the Wall Street Journal is an image of my great-grandfather.
Oh.
Okay? So it's a family story. Now, the artist of this painting is a guy named Delbert Jackson.
Oh, yeah. I know Delbert.
You know Delbert Jackson, right? He does great work. Well, he's a renowned Tulsa artist, and he devoted a portion of his career to painting these amazing portraits and murals that celebrate the oil industry.
Oh.
Now, how my family ended up represented in this painting is not really central to the story this week. In short, my granddad, who is the frowning man, so that's my granddad, is reading about my great-granddad who's retiring from the company that he built from scratch, Sunray DX, right?
Wow.
So,
okay.
And my great-granddad was chairman of the board of this company, and he put this merger together of Sunray and Sun Oil Company, and this was my granddad reading sadly about the retirement of his own father, and it all takes place in this painting. So if you're curious, you can check out the notes, the show notes, to see the image. My dad took a picture of it, and he sent it to me. And I don't know. I think there was some sort of an earthquake event, so it's a little bit blurry. Tom, I'd like you to look at the picture right now, so I'm going to post it for you.
Okay.
And just see if you notice anything I might have left out.
Okay. As my blood runs cold.
Now, the important part, the element of the painting that I may have left out in the introduction, is that the frowning man reading the newspaper, staring grumpily at page 6, is, in fact, an ink-stained clown.
Yes, he's in clown face.
He's in clown face. Why did you react the way you did to seeing this picture?
Clowns. This is your anxiety about clowns?
It is.
That's phenomenal because I've never understood. I do have some anxiety about this, not as strong as some other people, but I've never understood why. So this is exciting.
Well, I don't know if it's exciting. We'll see. I'll tell you, for me, this picture was hanging in my house growing up, and it was to the point where I love it because it represents my family, and being close to my family history, I have a deep love of it. But also, when I would have an opportunity to go to certain areas of my house, I would always take the long way. I would always wander around the living room and go through the kitchen and maybe then end up where I needed to be. So I find it disconcerting, and it may start even earlier than that because I went to the circus with my parents, and I have this image of getting next to an elephant and hearing this voice say, "Stay away from that elephant, kid. It's a good way to die."
Jesus.
And it sounds like a British carny, but I have that
it's a
image.
sea captain.
Yeah, exactly. And what you can't see is that I'm actually holding up the one finger cigar hook, like,
of course,
dial. And but in my head, now my parents tell me that story, and in fact, those were the words that were spoken, but it was by apparently a nice animal trainer who was kind of laughing. In my head, that was a damn clown.
Sure.
And I have always had like that vision of, being scared away from things that I was fascinated by. That's always been attached to this clown. I don't find clowns, like I can be in a room with a clown.
Sure.
I'm not going to like hang out with
often.
a clown. Yeah, right. Exactly. So
can I ask a follow-up real quick though about the painting, this specific painting?
Sure.
Why? Your grandfather, was he like a after-hours clown? Like what was the point?
No, and I, now we're into artistic interpretation, and because I don't have an answer to that. But what I've always imagined was that the retirement of my grandfather and the merger of these companies, the retirement of my great-grandfather and the merger of these companies was a bittersweet experience. That the man himself is sad, but he's putting on a brave face.
Crying on the inside clown.
Yeah, crying on the inside clown, which is one of the really interesting things about clowns is that they sort of the image of a clown allows you to express a very complex set of emotions that sometimes we don't really have words to express. So I think it's a great question that you ask here because it's important. Like it's important in terms of the role of a clown. Mm-hmm. It matters. So
cool.
I think clowns can be a symbol of great emotional complexity. But for me, it was always the creepy thing in my living room.
Yeah, it's a very severe image. Listeners, I would highly recommend you go to the website and check this out because I don't know if I'll sleep again.
Well,
it has everything that I don't like: Wall Street and clowns.
Yeah.
And he seems to be emerging from the sun. Okay, go ahead.
Right. There is this bright sort of light behind him. You're right. That's a great thing to note. I ended up doing a little bit of research, as you can imagine, and it turns out that this phobia, or coulrophobia, coulrophobia. So this is the paralyzing fear of clowns. Is something that is shared by an awful lot of people, and it has been shared by a lot of people since long before Pennywise, came about in Stephen King's It. That in fact, people have been studying why clowns are hard on humanity in a very large populations. And so here are a couple of things. First of all, and I mean this with the specific language in mind, certain behaviors of clowns can be creepy. And we know that because a social psychologist named Frank T. McAndrew published a study that helped really to explain the feelings that clowns evoke in us, and recruited a whole bunch of folks, almost 1,500 people in the very broad age range from 18 to 77, and asked them to, complete their responses to a profile around behaviors they saw as, quote, creepy.
Yeah.
And so, some things really jump out that are super obvious, like men are more likely to be seen as creepy, and unpredictable behaviors make people feel uncomfortable, and strange patterns of eye contact make people feel uncomfortable or creepy. Clown characteristics, such as big mouth and big bulgy eyes, they're not particularly creepy on their own. But guess what? When you take the big mouth and the big bulging eyes, right, and the enhancements that come to the face around makeup, and add the unpredictable behaviors. You never know when the flower is going to squirt you with water. You never know when the horn's going to go off. You never know when something's going to pop out. And weird patterns of eye contact, and the way the stereotypical clowns tend to move and emote. And now clowns become sort of a vessel of creepiness or inappropriate behavior. Right.
Okay.
One of the things that this McAndrews story comes out is that they liken that behavior to having vulgar conversation topics, or, quote, bringing lizards to the office.
What?
I don't know.
What does that mean? Is that a phrase that
was
everyone knows that I don't know?
That is creepy. Bringing lizards to the office is great. Do you mean like it's a euphemism for something?
I don't know. I mean, is that like a colloquialism? That's hard to say.
Hey, Tommy, did you bring your lizard to the office? Does it sound better like when I do it like that? That's creepy.
Carl really brought the lizard to the office today. I don't know what that means. Like he ruined the account. Okay.
Right.
Moving on.
Right. When asked which occupations, if you're asked to rank order a long list of occupations, which one is the creepiest, it should be no surprise that, in fact, clowns were at the very, very top of the creepiness scale. And it is consistent. This is McAndrews saying, so the results are consistent with my theory that getting creeped out is a response to ambiguity of threat. And that is only when we are confronted with uncertainty about threat that we get the chills. He says, it would be considered rude and strange to run away in the middle of a conversation with someone who's sending out a creepy vibe, but is actually harmless. At the same time, it could be perilous to ignore your intuition to engage with that individual if he is, in fact, a threat. The ambivalence leaves you frozen in place, wallowing in discomfort. And those emotions, those feelings are everywhere when it comes to the typical image of clowns. There's another angle here, and this is from our favorite country Canadian psychologist Rami Nader says, you don't know who they are.
Okay, see, this is what I was going to ask about.
So talk about that.
Well, there's a dichotomy going on with clowns, is that they're made to look super happy and super bright, but you can always see the humanity behind it. So there's already a disconnect about what's going on. And then there's sometimes they are sad. Like the sad clown is like a real, of course, a very big image that people are familiar with. So there's just an uncertainty of the mask that they're wearing. Not really, unlike a mask, which is that's all you see. There's something creepy about seeing the reality creep through the face paint.
Right.
Did that do anything? Okay.
Yeah, and there's this disingenuousness, right?
That's the word
clown.
I was, yes, correct.
Yes, that in fact, they're lying to you at some level because no one is happy all the time, right?
Not in those big shoes. Absolutely. Not all crammed together in a car. Yeah.
Exactly. Buy a sedan, we can fix clown problems.
We're the first generation to do it. No, I think
first generation to even take it on.
Yeah. We're taking down Big Clown. No, the disingenuous, that's a really good word, I think, for it, because there's a duality going on all the time.
Yes.
Which can seem disconcerting.
But when you look at the clowning sort of industry and what clowns are really there to do, they're there to make you laugh. They're there to help you have fun, even when you don't want to. And that the collision that happens with what you want to do with your emotions and what clowning insists you do with your emotions is another thing that can drive people batty, right? That they don't want to laugh. They don't want to be told how to feel. They don't want to be given a job to emote in a certain way. And that becomes a conflict that causes a resentment of clowns. It's sort of unsettling. So, it's interesting. It's interesting. So that comes from neuroscientist Jordan Gaines Lewis, which also wrote some fantastic work on this in Psychology Today. So all of these are, a fear of clowns is an irrational thing. Right. It is, right. As are all anxieties, right? Clowns are not generally out to get you. And the reason Pennywise exists is because this phobia of clowns is so ridiculous.
It's a reaction to it.
Yes.
Right.
It is. It's leaning in on something we're already worried about, and it's doing something ridiculous that we know cognitively. We know this, that's not going to happen. But then you have figures, these sort of famous figures like serial killer John Wayne Gacy, who would show up dressed as a clown, and is not a role model. So clowning has a tough reputation, but these irrational fears, right? They trigger the amygdala response. And we've talked about this before. That's the primal part of the brain that
fight or flight.
Just wants to help you survive. Exactly, right? That's the thing that tells you, that says, here's this irrational phobia. Now, when you see a clown, that lizard brain is going to kick in, and you're going to experience it in a heightened way. Those are some of the things I think that make clowning such a terrifying thing. Then when you have a personal experience, right, that highly specific personal experience, like the ancient British mariner clown who told me to stay away from the elephant, that memory, I can talk about it now just fine, but when I see a clown, that's in the back of my mind, right?
Yeah.
That experience from when I was 7 years old. And that's the irrational but highly specific event that triggers my feeling about clowns. So I don't know. What do you think? You talk to me about your feelings of clowns.
I think it really, at risk of repeating myself, it just gets into the basic duality of it. I've never had a bad experience with a clown, but there is just something unsettling. That's why I was so interested that you picked this one, because I have no connection to it. I do believe that all clowns are secretly run by ants. But apart from that, I'm not exactly sure. I think
they're all Vincent D'Onofrio in Men in Black.
Right, just looking for sugar water and our eyes. Just the basic thing of, I mean, this is really what you said, having a painted on mask that makes you constantly happy while you can see the truth right there in the exact same face. That represents danger. That represents lying. That represents all of those things. It's something not to be trusted. And it's like such an obvious lie that it's like, what won't this person do? Because they're not even trying to lie to me. Of course, this is subconscious me talking to myself. This isn't a conversation I've had with a clown since I got kicked out of that circus.
I need to go back to because they're not even trying. Anybody who would dress like that intentionally has got something to hide.
Yeah, give yourself a once-over, clowns. You look ridiculous. Did you even check your outfit? Your nose is stupid.
This episode of What's That Smell is sponsored by the International Clowning Association. We're in it to make you laugh.
Two other feelings that I had is, because you mentioned in that one study that it's not appropriate to, if you're having a conversation with someone that freaks you out or gives you the creepies, to just run away. But you might do it with a clown. I would like to take a suggestion from your cold open and just do like a slow robot walk away. I think the next time that I see a clown, I'm just going to beep and boop and do some cool arm movements, hoping to out-creep the clown. The only other thing that I wanted to offer is, this entire time I've been staring, as you've been talking, I've been staring at this photo of the clown reading the paper, and part of me, I've realized, does have some sort of irrational fear that if I look at it long enough, he will switch his gaze and look back at me. And I will go insane instantly. And that'll be all she wrote. Short season, everybody. Because there is, I can't get off this word, but there is something very old and primal about it. It's very interesting.
I'm sure, actually, that most clowns have broken teeth. No.
Okay, so what you need to do is you need to back away doing the robot while drinking your smoothie. Everything's going to go great.
I will say, I made a gag. I made a potential joke about the International Clowning Association, and that was incorrect. I did not know at the time, a few seconds ago, that it's actually the World Clown Association. And if you're interested, only 186 days left to register for the 2019 World Clown Association Convention in Albuquerque, New Mexico. What's that smell? Not sponsored by the World Clown Association.
No, that's sponsored by people that never want to be seen or heard from again. Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/scent-of-a-podcast. There are over 83,000 titles by now to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. Pete?
Well, it's probably pretty predictable at this point, Tommy, but I'm going to choose Stephen King's The Bible. Right.
What? I would read that.
This is Stephen King's It. This is the story of Pennywise the Clown and a group of kids who start their lives in a generational battle against evil. It's 44 hours and 55 minutes. This is a don't make any plans kind of event
No, it's
book
serious.
If you've never been a part of it. And it was much different than the movie.
Well, because the movie, cleverly, I think very smart. It's one of the things that derailed so many previous things on TV or film is they tried to tackle the entire book. The book constantly goes back and forth from the kids as kids and then the kids as adults, later coming back for round 2. And it constantly jumps back and forth. So the movie is just half of the book. And I think there's so much left out of the movie. Understandably, I am such a huge fan. It is the first longest book I've ever read. Wait. That's every book. That doesn't make any sense. Every book is the longest book if it's the longest. Whatever. Goes Audible? Go do it. Sorry.
Well, I have to add, the book is actually narrated by Steven Weber. You know Steven Weber.
Oh, he's really good at doing books. I've listened to a number of his. He
has done a number of books. He's done a lot of Harlan Coben books, some Tom Clancy, some Dean Koontz. So if you're into Audible for the readers, for the narrators, you can't do worse than Steven Weber. I mean, wait, you can't do better than Steven Weber. Wait, let me try that again. You can,
all right.
You can do
doing my
worse than
best.
Steven Weber for sure. He's fantastic. And then you can follow it up with binge watching Wings.
Yeah.
Because he's also great in that, you know.
Yeah. I listened to all the Wings episodes on Audible because I'm bad at everything. Again, a free audiobook download and a free 30-day trial. Go to audibletrial.com/scent-of-a-podcast and tell them we sent you.
We don't pay to advertise this show. You know that. So we really appreciate it when you share it, when you post it on Facebook, when you tell others on Twitter or email, or you call them and say, open your podcast machine. You have to check out What's That Smell. It really helps us. It helps us. And you know what else? It also helps your clown-fearing friends. This may be the show that convinces them they're right. They are right to be terrified of clowns this whole time. Help them understand their relationship with clowns by sharing this show. And you know what else? Those 5-star reviews in iTunes and Apple Podcasts help others discover the show as well. So if you like what you've heard, share the love with a review and a gentle punch on the shoulder.
What if this actually just started the clown revolution?
This is when Skynet came online, but clowns.
You just hear this. Coming up next week. Now, there is a basic sort of cliche that you come up with great ideas in the shower. You've heard of that.
Yeah, I don't do that kind of stuff in the shower.
Fair enough.
And my rationalization here, my justification is that I don't go hang out in their house. So get the hell out of mine.
I see. Sure. That's how nature works.
Yes.
That's a very American kind of way of thinking. I like that. And I saw my score, and it was a 0, Pete. Out of 100, it was a 0. And I remember thinking, I just lost a contest I didn't even enter.
I think that what we have just decided is if you want to get the show, send us your physical address because we'll write you a letter every week.
This week's tune has been Wildlife by Vegan Friendly. Thank you all so much for listening. I'm Tommy Metz III.
And I'm Pete Wright. We'll be back next week on What's That Smell?